Farscape number 2. We're here. This is part 2 of the Farscape number 2. And again, Farscape Engineers Inspect a Summary video. This is Cisco Meneses. I'm here in Richmond, Virginia. We're doing an examination of a cantilevered Farscape system here. This is Farscape number 2 on this building. And we're starting here at the cantilever. Let's talk about just the requirements. The authority having jurisdiction shall accept by load test or other evidence of strength. This is a pre-load test examination, and I'm here to determine whether or not we can proceed immediately to the load test, or is there issues that have made the Farscape suspect that need to be addressed, and then we can proceed to a load test, or do they want to refurbish the entire Farscape system in order to avoid the load test? I'm looking for evidence of maintenance. I'm not seeing any. I see some spot repairs, but I see nothing but original hardware on the entire Farscape, original to the building when it was built 50, 75, 100 years ago. I have a cantilever that's kind of twisted, typical of when you have this cable system here that goes around. The one thing I don't like is the box, this weight. This weight is just over a public sidewalk, and in case this cable ever gives way for any reason, that would come down and basically just kill somebody. So if this was ever to let go or something happened, so we need to control this so that this doesn't, it can't hang the way it is here. We have to find a new location for it. There's a release arm that is on the second Farscape on this building. There's a release arm example there, but this one doesn't have one, so we need to put a release arm on this so that when you release it, she drops 2 to 3 feet per second by herself. Now, right now, I have to go out there and walk so many treads up, 5 to 10 treads out, before this thing will start coming down and lift this weight up, so that's incorrect. Let's talk about the paint. Must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. Farscape is older than 78. This paint is all presumed to have lead. The EPA guidelines apply, so if anybody's going to scrape and paint this Farscape, he must be a licensed renovator to handle the scraping and the painting of this Farscape. Because this Farscape has lead, there is no welding on this Farscape as a repair. Even though the Farscape is fully bolted, there is no welding allowed. So anybody fixing this Farscape must fix it with fasteners, not welding. New pieces can come onto this fire escape that can be welded and bolted, but what I'm about to talk to you about right now is what needs to happen on this fire escape in order for it to be spot repaired and then proceed immediately to a load test, or fully refurbished with all the fasteners changed out and then there is no load test. Every connection must be sealed upon repair so that there's no more water getting into any of these connections. So you have railings that are pre-existing non-conforming. These railing knuckles have to be addressed. Otherwise, if we can get a bracket in here and eliminate this concern, this stays, but we put a bracket with a couple of bolts, we're going to start eliminating a lot of these brackets with a backup metal and a bolt, because these will have to be verified. And a lot of these cast iron knuckles have been rotting from the inside out for its lifetime, so we need to address that. The city official is going to have to let us know whether or not he wants more lines in here. Otherwise, he has to accept this as pre-existing non-conforming. We have the flat needs a paint job, scraping paint. On the grading or this flat platforms, you have to address which way the steel runs so that the minors don't need rebolting, but the major structural needs rebolting to avoid the load test. I mean, to then proceed to a load test. Or if you fully change all the fasteners out, there is no load test. So you look at all the welding. This is what happens. This is why you got any welded connection must have a bolt backup, because as soon as the weld snaps, there's nothing you can do. So these welds that are here, they've snapped because nobody cleaned out the rust in between. Same thing there. See, the top is bolted, welded, and the bottom is bolted. See, the weld's already snapped because of all the rust growth. It's called rust jacking. We have some of these treads, I'm going to show you one in particular, that these are all cast, and it has a crack. A lot of times welded cast iron cannot be put back. You have to put in a new metal piece. Or in some cases, they might recommend that depending on the condition, these cast irons get replaced. I don't think that's the story here on this one. But every one of these treads is going to need a backup bolt. Either change these two rivets out and put a new 2 3/8, or put a single 1/2 inch in the middle of it and keep the rivets. But you're going to have to seal and clean every one of these tops if you want to avoid the load test. Otherwise, you can make sure that all the treads are good, but then you need to proceed immediately to a load test upon repair of all the existing fire escape. Anything that has been identified in this video. Okay, we had some cement issues up against the building, but not minor. On this one, it's got a lot less than the other building. But see that cement spalling right there? You got to do all your cement. So about 25% of this fire escape has cement issue. Okay, so that all the cement connections need to be addressed. Then once you've cemented them, they need to be sealed to the building so water doesn't get back in there anymore. But only about 25%. Treads are in good order in that they need to be sealed and then load tested, or they need to be reinforced to avoid the load test. Water's getting in here and it's building this up with rust, so these need to be cleaned, then reattached, and you gotta put new bolts in it. If you're gonna keep these originals, you gotta load test the fire escape. If you swap this out or create a gusset over here, 2 bolts there, 2 bolts here, you can keep the original, there is no load test. Unlike the other fire escape on the other side, going back to the building here, they're pretty good, only a few minor areas. But the other side is 100%, this one's about 25%. This weight box and that tilted cantilever and this pulley, this cable's got to be replaced. The pulley system might be able to be redone over there somewhere, so that the weight is really over itself. So this needs to be reconfigured, because right now you got a cable that comes from there over this way, around here, and over to this pulley system here, and this all needs to be reconfigured to load test it. And look, it's over the sidewalk. If this ever lets go, breaks or anything, it's going to crush or kill somebody. A huge liability for this building. Okay, going back. This is a 7-story building, cast. We'll go up one more floor. And again, you gotta, once you've cleaned the entire fire, you gotta seal every major joint. It needs to be sealed. Keep the original hardware, let's load test it, okay? Change the original hardware, no load test. Cement, support. It's all about water intrusion. Stop the water from getting into the building. Sometimes these things are built wrong. Water comes in here, sits in here, gets in here and rusts these out. See, rust is in there because the pooling. As soon as you clean this out, you need to seal this up with silicone so water doesn't get in here anymore, so that this fire escape will last the lifetime of the building. A lot of times, see this J coming over? I recommend highly that you put a bolt through here so that this floor is helping the floor below because of the bolt. Otherwise, this is just a simple J and it's resting because of gravity. We've got a few more floors before we get to the top. So I'm going to stop here and start with a the next video. Farscape number 2. We're here. This is part 2 of the Farscape number 2. And again, as you can see, the string clips rusted. You got to clean every single one. Question on the railings, on these knuckles that are rotting from the inside out. Cement issues. You got to make sure all the cement is dealt with. Cast stairs. They all seem to be in good order. I might have passed the one that was cracked. So less than 25% of the treads on this Farscape are bad. Otherwise, it's either clean them and silicone them in preparation for the load test, or if you want, refurbish them with a backup bolt. There's no load test. Cement on this side is not that bad, but you do have cement issues. So about 25% of this Farscape has cement issues, and that water and as ice jacking has pushed the cement out, and you need to repack and then you need to reseal. Water's accumulating, rust accumulates on these knuckles. It gets in there too, so those need to be sealed so water doesn't get back in there. So there's quite a bit of water intrusion that's getting in that we can seal it. We can seal it now. Okay, see, back clips again. So it's pretty standard after a while, all the way up. Cement, again, 25%. Tread, less than 25% of the treads are bad. And again, if you want to avoid the load test, rebolting 100% of all the structural. So if I'm rebolting this, I can change this bolt out, no load test. If I want to keep that bolt, I can put a gusset over here. 2 bolts, no load test. Seal, pack, make sure the water runs off of these things. You know what I mean? So don't forget the paint job on this has got lead. So you got to make sure you have EPA renovators scraping and painting this Farscape. We're underneath the final. See some of the cement? Okay, so this side is not as bad as the other, but it does have issues. See cement right there? Okay, cement, structural, clips again. So wherever there's rust growing, you got to pop the rivets, pop the bolts, whatever needs to be done. When you put it back, it's got to go back spot primed, silicone shut with 35 to 50 year silicone. Any repairs on these treads, then you got to seal it. No more. I need a beveled seal on all these treads. Okay. This is looking underneath at this Farscape, cast the clips, change those rivets out to two new 3/8 on either side, or a single 1/2 inch bolt in the middle, keeping your rivets if that's what you wish to do to avoid the load test. Otherwise, every spot repair concludes in a load test. This can all be verified by calling the city, fire inspectors, and the one that's handling this particular building, and then they will confirm. They will be involved primarily on these railing issues, whether or not this is pre-existing non-conforming or they want some modifications, and whether or not they are satisfied that the refurb will avoid the load test, or will they allow a spot repair that concludes in a load test. Any questions? Farscape engineers, inspect the summary video. This is Cisco Meneses. We will also determine in our conversations with the city official whether permits are going to be required, engineer oversight is going to be required, and on a Farscape of this type, it most likely will need some engineer oversight for the final sign-off at the end, including the issue with that cantilever down at the bottom. Any questions? 866-649-0333. 866-649-0333.